There's a moment in certain conversations when the power quietly shifts. Nothing dramatic happens. No one raises their voice. No one storms away. Yet somehow the conversation ends. And the person who decides it's over is rarely the one talking the most. Ending conversations isn't a social skill among the ultra-wealthy. It's a status signal that separates true influence from everyone else. The difference between how you exit a conversation and how the ultra-wealthy exit reveals exactly where you stand in the social hierarchy. When most people need to leave, they apologize profusely and ask for permission, trying to soften the blow. But the elite don't ask. They create what could be called structured endings or definitive closure. At charity galas, you might observe this. Someone finishes listening, nods once, then says something precise like, "I'm glad we had the chance to speak." That sentence doesn't extend the conversation. It frames the entire interaction as complete. The words sound polite, but they're actually a status signal that the moment has ended. Remarkably, others accept this decision without resistance. The person who decides when to leave isn't apologizing for their time. They're signaling that their attention was the scarce resource all along. Watch what happens in the final seconds before someone with genuine influence ends a conversation. The ultra-wealthy don't use apologetic phrases that invite negotiation. When you hear, "I'm so sorry, but I have to run," or "I hate to cut this short," you're witnessing status being quietly surrendered. These phrases transform what should be a decision into a request, and requests can be denied. The person might respond with, "Oh no, it's okay, just one more thing," and suddenly the exit becomes a negotiation. The elite avoid this trap completely. Instead of apologizing for their boundaries around time, they frame completion rather than escape. "I'm glad we had the chance to speak" doesn't extend the conversation. It signals the interaction is finished. The difference is almost invisible unless you know what to listen for. But it's the difference between someone who controls their attention and someone whose attention gets controlled by others. Think about this conversation-ending technique. When someone says, "I'm glad we had the chance to speak," instead of apologizing. Have you ever noticed yourself using apologetic exit phrases like, "I'm so sorry, but I have to run"? Comment your answer below. Now let's look at the deeper psychology behind why these power exits work so well. At a recent private dinner, someone began explaining a business venture in excruciating detail, looping through unnecessary context and minor anecdotes. Around the table, people remained polite, but one guest quietly placed his glass down, leaned slightly forward, and delivered something that ended the rambling instantly. "That sounds like quite the journey," he said. The storyteller nodded. Then came the closing phrase, "I'm glad you shared that." The room paused. The conversation ended. No interruption, no awkward silence. Just closure. Within seconds, someone else shifted the topic entirely. The storyteller didn't appear offended because something psychologically interesting had happened. His story had been acknowledged, but the door to continue had been surgically closed. This is framing in action. The elite understand that most conversations don't require more talking. They require finishing. But here's where things become more psychologically uncomfortable. Because the real reason ultra-wealthy people end conversations this way has nothing to do with politeness. It has everything to do with control. Control over time, attention, and emotional atmosphere. In social environments where influence matters, attention is currency. And conversations are one of the main ways people try to acquire it. Some people talk too long because they want validation. Some talk too long because they are nervous. Others talk because silence makes them uncomfortable. But the elite rarely chase attention this way. They ration it carefully. And that means they also withdraw it carefully. Ending a conversation in these circles is not simply leaving, it's reallocating attention. And attention is power. Which leads to a question most people never ask themselves. When you leave a conversation, does it feel like relief or does it feel like loss? Because the way elite individuals end interactions often leaves the other person with a strange feeling. Not rejection, something more subtle, a sense that the moment was valuable and now it's gone. And moments that feel scarce always appear more valuable. This is one of the quiet psychological tricks that high-status individuals use constantly. They never overstay. They never drain the room. They leave before the interaction decays, before the conversation becomes repetitive, before the social energy collapses. And because of this, people often want more. The most powerful exits aren't verbal, they're structural. The elite don't simply end conversations, they redirect them. And that redirection is where the real status signal hides. Understanding these psychological principles helps explain why certain conversation-ending techniques feel so naturally authoritative. Now here's how you can immediately implement these elite conversation-ending techniques. Research in cognitive psychology shows that memory is strongest at the beginning and at the end. Only about 2% of conversations end when both people want them to, which means you're not the only one secretly looking for an exit. This gives you permission to lead the ending. Practice the structural redirect technique. Instead of making excuses, create natural transitions. I want to let you get back to your evening, or I should let you connect with other people here. These phrases position you as considerate of their time, not desperate to escape yours. Use the future value close when appropriate. Let's continue this conversation soon, or I'd like to hear how that project develops. This maintains relationship value while creating clear closure. Master the physical signals. People tend to shift their posture in the final moments of conversation. Stand slightly straighter, take a small step back, or adjust your position to signal transition without being obvious about it. Start implementing these techniques in low-stakes conversations first, with baristas, store clerks, or casual acquaintances. Remember that ending conversations gracefully, like any social skill, improves with practice. Many people worry excessively about appearing rude when exiting conversations. But a confident, direct approach is usually appreciated by others, who are often also looking for a way out. Subscribe to decode more elite signals that shape high-status interactions.